In this video, we're going to learn about pictures and drawing. If you'd like to follow along, open the Templates and Formatting.xlsx workbook from my courses and click on the Drawing tab. So most of what we do today is going to be on the Insert tab. So if I click Insert and Pictures, it automatically opens up my Pictures folder. Of course, I can have them saved other places, so I can always take a look at my documents, but the picture that I'm actually going to insert is this one. And it's actually kind of interesting. It's something that I downloaded from Facebook. Now, basically at the end, they want you to look at it upside down. So under this Picture Tools menu all the way at the top, when I click Format, I'm already there. I have all sorts of things that I could do. I could put a border around the picture and shading and all sorts of artistic effects and correct the colors and all sorts of other stuff. But over here in the Arrange, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Rotate. And notice I could 90 degrees or 90 degrees the other way. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to flip vertical and do that. And then I'm going to rotate and flip horizontal. And now you can actually read it and you can see that the picture looks a lot more freaky upside down than it did right side up. So anyway, another thing that you can do with pictures and even screenshots, which I actually find very useful, if I pull this down a little bit I can show you, is that still on that Format menu under the Picture Tools, I can click Crop, and I can crop it in from any edge. So I can take away a part of the picture if that's what I would like, and it doesn't change the original picture, just the one that's over here. So to see the results, I just click away, and I've been able to crop my picture. Now I'm going to delete this because we don't need this anymore. By the way, you don't have that picture on your computer, but you can insert any picture, try this out, or even with the online picture that I'm about to insert. So I'm just going to hit the delete key. Now if I've clicked away from the picture, hitting the delete key won't do anything. But if I click it, I get the handles, my menu appears, it's the active item, and I can just hit the delete key and it has just gone away. Now I'm going to click Insert and Online Pictures. So over here they're going to load some pictures. They have different categories. If you want, so you can take a look at all of the different categories that they have. I should really, since this is a Walmart income statement, what I should do is search for Walmart headquarters, but I want this to be a little bit more fun, and I'm a big Simpsons fan, so I'm going to search for Bart Simpson. And hit enter. And I've got all these little different pictures of Bart Simpson, so I think I'm just going to choose that one. And I can choose several of them at the same time, and just click Insert, and there is now my picture of Bart Simpson, and it has a blank background, a see-through background, but I can change that under that Format menu, so I can do a background and do all sorts of other things with that picture. Now I'm going to delete this picture as well because I don't really need it. And now let's go into inserting some shapes. So I'm going to click Insert, and notice that the third icon in, we've already done pictures and online pictures, the third icon in is shapes. So I'm going to click Shapes, and there are all these many shapes that you can use. So you can draw straight line or squiggly lines or curved lines or arrows or things like that. So let's say I wanted to do a one-headed arrow so that I could point out something. So all I have to do is click it, and then I'm going to draw it out. Now the arrowhead is going to point where I end. So I just figure where I want it to start, hold down my left mouse button, and I draw it out, and I have my drawing tools menu, so I can very easily change the color to all sorts of different colors and presets. Whatever I want to do, I'll hit escape to get out of that menu, and I can move it, use the handles to resize it, and point it however I want. Now, let's say you wanted to circle one of the numbers. So, I'm going to click Insert and Shapes, and I'm going to do a circle. So under my basic shapes, I'm actually going to choose oval. Now a little trick, if you hold down your Shift key while you draw it draws out a perfect circle instead of an oval. So you won't get it all sideways. I actually kind of want this one sideways, so I've stopped holding down the Shift key, and I can always adjust the shape. Now you're going to notice here that I haven't circled the number, I've actually hidden the number. So what I'm going to do is making sure that I'm on that format under the drawing tools. I'm going to do Shape Fill, and now I will do No Fill. Now I will do Shape Outline, and I can choose Red. And now under Shape Outline I can choose Weight, and I can make it a little bit heavier. And when I click away, I have a red circle around the number, and if I click over it, notice I have the four-headed handle. I have that. I can edit it, I can resize it, I can move it, I can do lots of things with it. I'm going to delete that as well. Now one thing that I really like is a call out. So I'm going to click Insert and Shapes, and notice there are many other shapes here. You could even insert a smiley face, so I can draw that one out as well and change the colors. Oh, I don't really like that one very much. And that orange dot over there means that I can change, so I can change it into a frowny face or a smiley face, or maybe a kind of, I'm not sure, face. So that's what it looks like. I don't like that very much, so I'm going to delete it. So now I'm going to click Insert, and one of my favorite worksheet enhancements is a call out. So I'm going to click Shapes, and notice you have, oh, and there are stars and banners and flowcharts and equation shapes and all sorts of neat things, but down at the bottom you have call outs. So that's like when you read a comic and you see that little balloon coming out from the character's mouth, so it looks like they're talking. I actually don't like any one of them except the first two. The third one isn't horrible. The fourth one really doesn't looks really weird with the cloud, but I like the second one the best, the rectangle with corners rounded. So I'm going to click my call out, and then all I have to do is draw it out, and I can just start typing, wow, look at those numbers with an exclamation point. Now the little orange dot is where it points to, so I can set it to point to, and these guys will change the size, and I can move it to point wherever I want, and that will print. Now the next thing that I want to go over is what happens if you want to create a drawing. So if I hover over it and click, it's the active object, and I can just hit my delete key once again to get rid of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to learn about grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a stick figure. So I'm going to click Insert and Shapes, and I have my second one, my oval. So I'm going to click Oval, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key to draw it out. So I have a perfect circle, and Shape Fill, and No Fill. Now I'm going to draw a line. So I'm going to click Insert, Shapes, and I'm just going to choose the first line. And notice how when I get close to it, the handles appear, so it's telling me that I'm right up against it. And I'm going to draw my line, and notice it gets a little bit squiggly if it's not vertical, and it stops being squiggly if it is vertical. So now I'm going to draw the arms, insert, shapes, align, get up right up against this line, and draw out the first arm. Now what I'd like is for the second arm to be exactly the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this, then I'm going to go home, I'm going to click the copy icon, then I'm going to click away, and I'm going to click paste. And now what I will do is I will move this to this side and just kind of rotate it. I think I messed up the size a little bit, but by copying it you can make sure that it's the same size. It doesn't have to be. This is a rough drawing. Now before I group this, I'm just going to do the legs because I have to finish up. Insert, shapes, line from the bottom of his torso out there, and finally insert, shapes, line, and draw out his second leg. Now what happens after I've drawn this masterpiece? What happens if I would like to move it? Well, I'd have to move each piece individually, which would be unbelievably annoying. So what I can do is I can group these. So I'm going to hover over the head until I see the four-headed arrow. Now I'm going to click it, and now I'm going to hold down my control key. Now I'm going to hover over the torso. Notice the little plus sign. So I'm going to click that. Now I'm going to hover over the first arm, and I will just click. Notice how all of these are selected. I'm going to hover over the second arm and single click. Hover over the first leg and single click, still holding my control key, and hovering over the second leg and single clicking. So now I've selected all of the elements of my drawing. So now, making sure that I'm on that Drawing Tools and the Format tab, in Arrange, there's an icon group, so I can click down, I can click that icon, and then click Group. Another way I can do that is I can hover over, right click, and there's a group icon right over there as well. So now I can still edit the individual items, but when I click over the group, what I can do is I can resize this without resizing the individual elements, and I can now move it all together without having to move the individual elements. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my little stick figure. Now let's move on. We've actually gone through a lot of what we're going to be going through today. So just going into Insert, notice there are icons as well. So I can click icons and I can insert any one of these icons. I like dogs, so I will check the dog and click Insert. Notice I can do more than one at the same time, and I have my icon. So I'm going to delete my dog, and I'm actually going to delete my stick figure as well. Now we're going to do something that you may have seen me do on your exams, I'm going to click Insert, and over here under Text we've already gone through the header and footer, but now I'm going to choose a text box. So I click the text box and I just draw it out, and now I can begin typing. Wow, look at those results for Walmart. Now the nice thing about this, as opposed to putting it into a cell, is that not only can I resize this, but it will actually wrap easily, unlike a cell, and I can move it, I can put a nice border, I can put in a background color. So in the drawing tools, I can just click format, and I have all sorts of shape styles. I can do the shape fill, change my font color, do all sorts of different things. Now I'm going to delete my text box, and I'm going to click insert and word art. Now I must tell you that in the 2000s, word art was a lot cooler. It went up at an angle and it had all these cool things, but I can click one of these word art styles and then just type out. And once again that becomes a text box, so I can move it and resize it and make the font bigger and do all sorts of things. Now, the last couple of things. Now we can see over here that when I click insert and shapes, this is actually a new group over here, equation shapes. So if I have to input a division sign or an unequal sign or a not equal sign, they're all right here. But let's say you wanted a different symbol. So let's say you wanted the integral sign or some other mathematical or other symbols. So in that insert menu over here under symbols, I'm going to click symbol. So notice there are all sorts of different subsets. So there's Latin, and one thing that you may want is we have Greek and Coptic, so you can put in alphas and betas and deltas and gammas and phi's and phi's and pi's and rhos and all sorts of other things that you would want. And if you scroll down, you can see all sorts of different symbols that they have over here. And we also have mathematical operators that we can click on, and you can see fractions up here that you can insert, and down with the mathematical operators we can see the approximate, unequals, 3 equals sign, less than or equal to, and all sorts of different, the infinity sign, there's the integral sign that I talked about. So all you'd have to do is click one and then click insert and close, and there it is in my cell aligned with the type. I didn't realize that my active cell was so far away, so if I wanted to insert that into G2, I would just click the symbol, and once again I can choose my summation and click insert, and it looks like it doesn't do anything, but when I click close, there it is in cell G2. So I'm just going to backspace and hit enter. The last thing is you'd actually be surprised how many times that you're going to use this, especially if you do presentations. You may want to input the equation on how you calculated something. So notice insert over here under symbols, there's actually an equation editor. So if I click the down arrow, there are all sorts of different equations that I can input that come up in a text box. So for example, if I needed the Pythagorean theorem, there it is, and I can make it bigger and make my font size much bigger. Click home, and let's say put that up to 32. So there I have my a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if I'd like to display an equation, a new equation, I'm going to delete that. So now if I wanted to type my own equation, I would click insert, and instead of clicking the down arrow, I just click the button, and I get to type the equation here, and I get all of my equation tools. So let's say I wanted to do an integral. I could click integral, and all of these different integrals are available. So I could click the integral with limits, and I could make this a little bit bigger, change the font size. So I'll go home and I'll change this much bigger so I can actually see what I'm doing. And I click in the top box, and under equation tools I can click back in design. Now I can just start typing x equals, and then I can insert all sorts of different symbols over here. So x equals, let's say, negative infinity, so I'll type a negative sign, and then in the symbols I will input an infinity, and over here x equals infinity, and I can do, let's say, powers or fractions, but they're all different presets. But I could do my e to the IWT, and I could just click in the IWT and edit that, delete and delete, e to the RT, and click away. And I have to increase the size of my text box to see the e to the RT. So I've input my integral. Now the last thing that I want to go over is Smart Art. So I'll just delete my equation, get over the border, and then just hit the delete key and it's gone. The last thing that I want to go over is Smart Art, which is great if you want to prepare a list or an organization chart. So still on that insert menu, illustrations, Smart Art, and notice there are all these different categories: list, process, cycle, hierarchy, relationships, matrix. So all you have to do is click one and then click OK, and it comes in, and all you have to do is click and type. Okay, so I think at this point we've gone over quite a lot on the insert menu. We've gone over pretty much everything under illustrations. I went through screenshots in the first video. And we can see here under text, about the only thing I haven't done is insert an object and insert a comment. So I'm going to delete this chart. Now a comment is very nice, and a comment appears when you click on a cell. So I can click on that cell and insert a comment, and it comes out, and I can make a conversation about that, like, how can we make this larger? Now comments are also very good if you're reviewing somebody else's worksheet. So if you think they made a mistake or you have a comment, you can put it in there. You can see the cells, and when we hover over it, you can see the comment, and I can just delete the comment by clicking that X on the right hand side. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video on how to do illustrations and drawing.